Hello, my name is Dinesh Pandey, and I'm the head of AI and implementation here at Dataherald. Our company provides an API that allows you to embed text to SQL directly into your product at production scale and quality. And that's it. That's all we do, and we do it better than anybody else. Instead of talking about it, let me just show you. Here, we see Dataherald deployed with a Streamlit UI connected to a database with publicly accessible aggregated real estate metrics from sources like Redfin, Zillow, and RentHub. Of course, you can connect any relational database at all that accepts an ODBC connection. The use case can be anything that can be serviced by insights from a relational database. Let's start by asking a question. What was the median sale price in San Ramon, which is my hometown, California, in January 2024? The agent takes a quick moment to get going, and then it starts walking you through its reasoning and the steps it's taking towards generating the right SQL response. Here, we see it first retrieve a few shot examples of questions that were asked in the past that were similar to this question to serve as a starting point for the agents to start writing SQL. There are other tools like the get admin instructions, which is further instructions that we provide to help the agent better write SQL. There are a lot more tools that the agent can use, such as DB tables with relevance scores and DB relevant table schema, and a lot more that help the agent understand what the next step is in writing correct SQL. At the end of the process, the agent will surface the correct SQL. Let's see. And there it is, the final answer. We help you achieve the performance goals demanded by our use case, both latency and accuracy, for internal scenarios, external or customer-facing use cases, integrated into your SaaS product, or whatever the use case or situation may be. Maybe your data team spends 60% of their precious and expensive time answering ad hoc questions, and Dataherald can unblock the team to work on more critical core competencies. Maybe your enterprise users want quick and reliable insights about their usage or performance. Regardless of the use case, try Dataherald for free with our open source offering, which has a vibrant and active Discord community. Here, we have hundreds of users along with Dataherald's members itself to help answer this question in a timely and efficient manner. Or you can get started for free with our managed self-serve offering with $50 in credits and resources and documentation to get you going on the right path. For example, here's a resource that will help you get started with the API, and another blog on how best to use your $50 Dataherald credit to get going. We also have documentation for the API and SDK that can help you build your own application. In this video, I'll walk you through setting up a pre-built Streamlit app to interface with Dataherald. This video assumes you've already walked through the steps here to set up Dataherald's open source offering, but if not, you can find them in the README of the Dataherald GitHub repo, which sets up Dataherald with local Mongo using Docker. The build can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 15, but after that, you can run Docker PS to ensure that both Dataherald and Mongo containers are running, and check localhost to see the fast API active there. We'll click on localhost, and we see that it is up and running. The first step here now will be to make your database connection. To do this, we'll click on the drop-down arrow here, and click on Try It Out. Here, you see what the request body should look like, and you'll need a few pieces of information to get your database connection set up. We'll give it an alias. Let's call it Streamlit Real Estate DB Test. And I'll copy this alias because I'll need it a little bit soon. We won't use an SSH connection, and I need to paste the connection URI here. For information on how to set up this connection URI, you can refer to our docs. Here, you can see the format for the connection URI for each data warehouse that we support. Let's head back to the Fast API. I can delete all of the unnecessary fields and click on Execute. Assuming all else goes well and our connection URI is valid, we should get a response here showing us that the database connection was made. It seems to have worked, but I misnamed the alias, so let me quickly fix that. And then we should be good to go. Now that you've made the database connection, we're ready to install the Streamlit app, which can be done in less than 2 minutes by following the directions in the GitHub repo here. I will do it step by step with you now. First, we're going to clone the repo. I'll first change into the directory that I want to hold all of this in, and then clone it. And then I'll go into the cloned repo and create a virtual environment. While this isn't required, it's highly recommended because it helps ensure the setup is correct. We'll activate this, and then we'll install all of the requirements. Now, while this is running, there are a few updates we need to make to the code for our Streamlit app. I'll open it up here. Desktop, Dataherald, Streamlit app, the home file. I'll need to first replace the default real database value with the database that we just created, Streamlit. I forgot what it was called. Let me check. Real estate DB test. And then I also need to update the host. Host. This should be localhost now, because that's where I have deployed the tool. Save, close, and by now, the requirements should be done installing. Yes, they are. I'll now copy the command to run the Streamlit app, and it should show up right here. Perfect. Now that the app has been set up, we still aren't ready to ask a question. If we try to ask, what was XYZ? It'll say that no tables have been scanned. That's the first step that we need to do. I'll switch over to the Database Info tab and select the database that we were just working with, and I'll connect. We now need to scan tables, so let me first see all of the available tables. I'm going to move my head over here, show tables, and I'll see that all these tables are available to me, but none of them have been scanned yet. There may be a lot of tables in your database, but Dataherald only has access to the tables that you explicitly allow. So let's select Redfin median sale price and scan that table here. In this process, Dataherald learns about each table schema, linkages through primary and foreign keys, and metadata such as data types, categorical columns, etc. This helps the LLM better understand how to write complicated but correct SQL for each use case, and the scanning process can take anywhere from a couple of seconds to a few minutes. After it's done scanning, you're ready to ask questions. Let's take a look at the tables now, and we see that one of them is still scanning, and I will keep refreshing until it shows that it is done scanning. All right, and we see the scan is done. It's identified that the table has 26 columns, and we're now ready to ask a question. Let's see what happens when we ask the same question as before, with just one scan table and no other resources provided. What was the median sale price in San Ramon, CA in Jan 2024? Head back here again. The agent will start. It'll use a few different tools, but you'll notice it did not use a few shot prompter because it does not have any golden sequels yet. It follows a basic process to come up with the sequel, but we don't expect it to be 100% correct because there's a lot of tools that are currently missing. Let's see. We see the result here, and it isn't as good as before, and that's because a few key tools are missing. To get Dataherald to production quality performance, we need to provide some better tools. The first such tool is Golden Records. I'm going to start the process of uploading the Golden Records first, and then I'll talk over while they're being uploaded. Golden records serve as few-shot examples for the LLM. When you ask a question, our agent identifies a small subset of these golden records most similar to the question asked and includes them in the context window for the LLM, which can use the corresponding SQL snippets as a reference. Also, the curation of this golden record set serves a secondary but equally important purpose as the training data for a fine-tuned model. The process of uploading simulates one of two scenarios. Either you've already had some text-to-SQL pairs as training data for a text-to-SQL use case, or you used Dataherald for a while and curated the set of pairs over time. For this example, we're trying to upload 125 golden SQL and natural language pairs. This will set up the tool pretty well to start answering questions better. Let's see. Once it's done uploading, we'll switch over to the tab and ask the same question again and see how the agent has changed. Golden records have been added. I will look at a list of 10 of them just to see, and we see examples of questions asked and the correct SQL query to answer those questions. Let's go back to the tab and ask the question again and see how it's different. What was the median sale price in San Ramon, CA in Jan 2024? The agent starts, and ideally the first step here will be the few-shot prompt, few-shot example retriever, yes. And we find similar queries that were asked in the past out of that list of the 125 that I just uploaded. Using this as a reference, we expect that the results this time will be a little bit better. And here we have the final query, which looks a little bit better than before. However, as the expert in the data, I still see a few things wrong here. In particular, we shouldn't be averaging metric value as the median sale price because that column already has averaged and aggregated data. To solve this problem, we'll use another tool called database instructions. Let's switch over to the instructions tab, and I'll explain how to use instructions now. The next tool in the Dataherald arsenal is database level instructions. You may verify queries and find that the agent just isn't understanding how to address a certain situation. For example, our DB has aggregated monthly data for different property types and geos, so we don't want any SQL queries to do further aggregations like averaging, sum, or counting like it did in the example where we just asked a question. In those situations, we can head over to the Instructions tab and add an instruction to explicitly guide the agent. Let's add an instruction to address that situation. The instruction has been added, and I can view all instructions, and the example here says, never run an aggregate function on the metric value column, such as average, sum, or count. The metric value column already includes aggregated or average data. Ideally, with this instruction, the agent no longer makes the mistake that it made in the past. Instructions are curated over time as you run into scenarios where you find that the golden records are insufficient to guide the agent by themselves. For this example, I'll add a few more instructions that I've curated over time with this use case. You'll see here that we have the old instruction and the new instruction, which can be multiple instructions put together at once. With these instructions in play, we can switch over to the tab and ask the question again and see how it behaves differently this time. What was the median sale price in San Ramon, CA in Jan 2024? Here, we will once again use the few shot examples to set a baseline for the template. And I believe the next step here should now be explicit instructions from us on how to write these queries better moving forward. These are scenarios that have come up in the past that we know the agent does not do well with. Let's see what the final SQL query looks like now. And there we have it. Here's the final SQL query that, based on my expertise, is correct. And you'll see that it no longer sums or averages or does anything with metric value other than simply reporting it. With a combined arsenal of golden records and instructions, you'll see the agent's performance climbing towards production-grade expectations. There are some other context tools, such as table and column descriptions, that can further help tune the performance of the agent. You can even swap out LLMs for an open source one, or fine-tune your own model. And that's all, folks. With Dataherald, you can enable question answering on your relational database with less than a couple of hours of setup. Especially if you decide to get going with a Streamlit front end, you can have this in the hands of beta users in no time at all. Links to our GitHub repos, both for Dataherald and our Streamlit app, will be in the description of this video, along with our Discord channel, docs, a few of the guides I mentioned earlier in the video, and a sign-up link if you're interested in our self-serve option with $50 in free credits to get you going. Happy heralding!